Nivedita pointed out that yes, ChatGPT has revolutionized the way we are creating content also. Surprisingly, I find myself giving prompts to ChatGPT, and at times I myself am responding perfect because there's nothing to change in the answer ChatGPT has given to me. So maybe in addition to what Nivedita shared with us, perfection is something that we are also looking to get from AI. But then they say, to err is human, and humans make mistakes. Coaches are also humans, but are coaches allowed to make mistakes? Maybe, but not the 5 mistakes that Lochan is sharing with us that coaches are not allowed to make. 5 slip-ups that they should never make. Okay, so we will hear that from Lochan. But before that, a quick word about Lochan. She is an ICF ACC certified leadership coach and learning and development expert with a passion for developing people. She is the founder of Experiences, a pioneering platform enabling women navigate life and career transitions. As a coach, Lochan works with successful professionals looking for that inflection point in their career that requires them to reevaluate their career and life choices. She also hosts a podcast called Career Uninterrupted, focusing on building an ecosystem that supports mid-career transitions, especially among women. So Lochan, stage is yours.
Thank you. I was really excited and a little nervous about this coaching call. You know, one of my first big paid client, finally, after so much of effort and back and forth, I kept all the distraction aside. I centered myself and I ensured that I'm present. I logged in 10 minutes early. And as I was sitting there being mindful of my feelings, I suddenly realized that the clock is showing 7 minutes ahead of the scheduled time. The person has not showed up yet. I kept wondering, did he ghost me? Did he just decide to ditch me? I was very irritated. I opened my laptop to start sending him an email, all the while reminding myself that you need to be calm, you need to be polite, you shouldn't get worked up about this. And I suddenly froze. I saw an email from him saying, "Hey, are we connecting? I'm already logged in." I was very confused. I looked at the time and it showed 1.5 hours before. I had coordinated the time with the secretary. We had agreed on this time. Did she goof up? Did she make a mistake? Maybe she didn't get to tell him correctly. I went back to the thread of conversations that we had. I looked through all of that and it confirmed we both had agreed on the same time. I couldn't understand what was happening. And that's when I realized that we were operating in 2 different time zones. And neither one of us figured that we should mention that to each other. We all make these kind of mistakes. Small mistakes, big mistakes, but as seasoned coaches, we make these mistakes. Some of the mistakes impede us from becoming great coaches. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lochan Narayanan, and I'm here to talk about the 5 mistakes that we should sidestep. And of course, a lot of them I've learned from my own experience. I sent out apology emails to my client and to his secretary and everybody else. Thankfully, my client was considerate enough to keep that aside, and we laughed about it later. But it shook my confidence in the first session. You know, it was a big client. I was trying to impress the client. I was subconsciously trying to ensure that it was a great session. And I kept thinking, what would the client be thinking about me? You know, because I would honestly be judging me if I were in his place. And that's when I realized that, I had made 2 mistakes. The first, I had an oversight syndrome, which is missing out on the smaller details, such as sending out attachments, forgetting to send them, or forgetting to send documents, or being unprepared, or even sending incomplete instructions to the client, or in my case, sending like not confirming the time zone with the client. All of these seem like very small details, but they are important aspects to create a great coaching journey. The second mistake that I was making in my attempt to be the best version of myself, I was being dazzle focused. That is trying to be an impressive coach. You should be an impressive candidate. You should be an impressive interviewer. You should be an impressive consultant. You should even be an impressive speaker, but you should not try to be an impressive coach. Because the minute that thought runs in your mind, you stop being and focus on becoming. And in that process, you end up becoming inauthentic. And we all know that an inauthentic coach is way worse than not having a coach at all. Coaching is a really powerful tool. All of us who have experienced it will attest to it. We talk about it. In my early coaching years and coaching journey, I used to sell coaching to everyone. Anybody who would come to me with like a career advice or a small problem, or even to just complain about their boss or manager, I would say, you know what, you should get yourself a coach. That's how excited I was about coaching. And that's how much I believed in the power of coaching. I had a client who came through a reference from another client, a very smart and successful woman. She was struggling at her work. She felt she's going to get irrelevant and redundant if she doesn't change her career soon. Our first session went great. We had set the coaching agenda. We had set her goals. She was very clear what she wanted in her sessions. I was thrilled. It was conversations like these that made me strengthen my belief in the power of coaching. With all of that excitement, I came in for my second session, very excited to see what we can reveal. Midway into the session, she broke down. I thought, wow, maybe she had a very profound coaching moment. She wiped her tears, she calmed herself down, and she shared. She shared how she was struggling to be a single mom, how her 15 years of marriage just crumbled and she was finding it difficult to navigate her divorce and career at the same time. It just felt very daunting. She calmed herself down and tried to get back to the conversation that we were having. But I didn't think that was the right moment and she wasn't ready for it. So I asked that we reschedule the conversation. The next few sessions also went in a similar fashion. And I kept thinking, what can I do as a coach to really help her through this space and through this journey? And that's when I realized that her sense of irrelevance was not coming from her career, but actually from her personal space. And at that point, she didn't need a coach. She needed a therapist or a counselor, someone who can help her navigate that space better. I gathered a lot of courage, went to her, shared this with her. She was very upset with me. But I knew that I am not the person and coaching is not the answer. Had I continued with her, I would have made the third mistake, which is the silver bullet fallacy, assuming that coaching is the answer for everything. As expert coaches, seasoned coaches, we share journeys, we share transformation stories, we advocate it, and we should. But a lot of people need therapy or they need mentoring. And without understanding this space, they come to us seeking coaches. At that point, how we understand and respond to them decides how we support our clients, and more importantly, decide how we position coaching as a profession. Coaching is a responsibility where you're acting as a change catalyst, enabling someone to transform themselves. When you spark a change in someone, you also create a shift in yourself. And this gives us all a high that keeps all coaches going. After many years of coaching practice, I was working with this international client, a big shot from a large multinational organization. Very diligent. He would log in on time. He would ensure that he's done his prep, and he really trusted the process. After every session, he would give me very positive feedback. But somehow I felt this is not going the right way. I was not adding value. I felt that, he's not having these breakthrough insights. He's not having these aha moments. And I genuinely felt that maybe it's me. I kept going back, reading more, trying to listen more, maybe ask more intelligent questions, and so on. When it was the end of our coaching journey, and I asked him for a feedback about the journey, I was honestly expecting it to be very muted. But to my surprise, he shared some amazing things about me as well as about the coaching journey. He said, Lochan, you gave me 1 hour to reflect and you held that space for me, something I never get. Thank you for doing that. In this entire process, I realized that I was making my fourth mistake, fishing for compliments, seeking validation from my client. Coaching is about the coachee's agenda. It is about the coachee to say that, hey, I am drawing value from this. You are adding value. So whether I walk out of a coaching session feeling energized is immaterial. As long as my client is walking out of that coaching journey feeling energized and kicked about their next steps, that's when coaching is powerful. That's when I know this coaching session has been successful. When I talk about energizing ideas or energizing a client, I want to share this. All my coaching sessions start with a visualization exercise. It's an energizer. I feel it's an energizer. The visualization exercise is very simple. I ask them to tell me, what do they like? Do they like books, music, or movies? And whichever one they like, I tell them, now imagine your life is like a bookstore or a movie library or a music library. And if someone walks into that bookstore, you see all these danglers with different genres. Let's say they represent different parts of your life. What would those aspects be? I love this exercise, and my clients love this exercise because it allows them to break away from their current dilemma and focus on the larger perspective of life. I recently tried this with another client. I've been using this so often, I went ahead and tried this with another client. I shared the whole visualization exercise. She was quiet. I said, maybe she needs time to think. Let me stay with her a little. The clock kept ticking. So I nudged her a little more. I said, hey, do you want some help? Can I explain this example again? And she still was quiet. She sheepishly looked up at me and then said, actually, I don't like either books, movies, or music. I just like to do embroidery in my free time. So I'm actually wondering how to answer your question. I was like, oh my God, I made such a big miss. And now I really need to recreate and rethink on my feet about a new exercise, a new visualization exercise for her. I realized that I was making my fifth mistake, yesterday's echo, focusing on what worked in the past. We all are creatures of habit. The more we get appreciated for something, it stays. And if it doesn't, it gets stumped. Success gets replicated very quickly. And it is important to not turn that into a habit, but look at every client with fresh eyes. Our own tools and techniques that have actually worked in the past for another client may not work here. And instead of trying to refit it, as coaches, our success will lie when we are learning to adapt on the go, and be flexible with every client. I am sure that there are many, many more mistakes that I have made. But these 5 have made me to pause and rethink. The way we think is actually a habit. As a coach, I'm trying to enable others to rewire their way of thinking. In the entire process, I also forget that I also need rewiring of my own way of thinking. I will need to periodically pause, evaluate, and check in. As a coach, I'm constantly learning. I'm learning not to have an oversight syndrome. I'm learning not to have a dazzle focus. I'm learning not to have the silver bullet fallacy. I'm learning not to be fishing for compliments or approval. And I'm learning not to have yesterday's echo. As you build your coaching journey, watch out for these mistakes or some other mistakes that may be unique to you. All the best in your journey. Thank you.
Ooh, fantastic.
Superb.
Super, super. Absolutely. Wow.
My goodness, just one question right up, Lochan. All these phrases, they are your own creation?
They are AI.
Okay.
So I was waiting to say that. So
Yes,
I took
because
a
they
leave
need to
out.
be copyrighted. My God, they are so beautiful. Like I said, sometimes we are responding to AI also. You are perfect. So yes, this was beautiful. I mean, yes, you need to, someone needs to copyright them. Like silver bullet fallacy and yesterday's echo, beautiful.
You
And
know, Roshni,
wow.
we should ask AI. We should, even AI requires compliments. Even that wishes for, the compliments. So we
Everyone
should
needs
give
an
them
ego
that.
boost, na? AI also needs an ego boost.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, but wonderful, beautiful, and the you could see in the comments also people were asking, okay, what was the second point? What was the third point? So good that you summarized it all for us in the end.